A pleasant good day to you and yours, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News. With me, as per usual, I have the inimitable, the one and only Mr. Chesley Hamilton. The time is approximately 1 minute moving away from the 10 o'clock hour. Again, welcome to all of you, whoever you are, wherever you are. Let me, without any further delay, go right to Mr. Chesley Hamilton and say good day to you, sir. Welcome, and what is on your mind today?
Good morning, Quint. Good morning to you and the winnfm audience online, on air. Um, what's on my mind? February is over, and we're heading into March. I have to say what's on my mind that is inside the news. Um, we had CARICOM summit here, and before there was CARICOM, there was something called the West Indies Federation, and part of the legacy of that federation, my words, is the University of the West Indies and the West Indies cricket team. While the West Indies cricket team is involved in a T20 World Cup, if this is the West Indies, then over there might be the East Indies, in India. You're laughing with.
That's a whole nother story.
It's a whole other bit of story. But I'm just put it, I like to play with the nomenclature, you know that.
Yeah.
Words and the way that they're used and the way the nomenclature evolve. I spoke with somebody in Nevis yesterday, and they were asking about the show. They were asking me if I'm a candidate in the election, or who is paying for the show, or is it sponsored, all of those things, because he wanted to say, well, the kind of things y'all talking about, y'all ain't talking about news and politics, and say, yes, we want to educate and entertain.
Yeah, most
At
definitely.
the same time, when we finish, our audience should be able to hold any conversation around the water cooler.
Yeah, but let me ask you, why is it that people think only if you're into politics or intend to run, you should speak about politics? Don't they understand politics? The word itself is derived from the governance or the governing or how
Yeah.
you do go about
Well,
doing things.
I give more often a simple, very simple definition. I say politics is about policy making.
Yeah,
And if you are making policy, whether it's in your home, your house have policy.
that's
The
it.
policies you don't come in here after a certain time.
That's it. The
Yeah,
things
you
that
gotta be at
govern
the
how your
table.
house
You have to
runs.
have your
Yeah,
table manners. You have to say good.
yeah,
That is the politics of your home.
yeah,
That,
it is.
the church politics and church politics sometimes even more divisive than
Yep,
secular politics in terms of the vestry and who could sit on it and who can't sit on it, and whether you could get married in the church if you were married again before, and all sort of other things. Who whether the lights are on when you have a funeral, or you can't put on the lights, or whether you're going to have communion or not. I mean, come on, there's so much policy and politics within the church. You just need to know what is the politics of the time. Politics is not about voting and the issue of democracy. That is not even a natural phenomenon. That is something that came about, um, over the last few hundred years. And, the great United States will be turning 250 this year, and their constitution would be about 235 years. But it took a gentleman who was born in Nevis and went to St. Croix and went there to write 52 of the 80 other federal papers that brought that country into being. Yet, nobody wants to recognize our contribution towards their development. But that's another story as well. But
yeah.
I'm just showing you how we take history, politics, conversation, the news, and move it into a conversation on a Saturday. And I'm saying that because this is not about who voting for who wearing red or who wearing yellow, which gang you're in, whether you're wearing blue, red, green, whatever is orange, whatever is in your gang color. That's not what this is about. This is about our people, our nation, our federation, and what responsibilities come with being a part of these nations.
Yeah.
We didn't become nation because empire felt like you were an appendage and were no longer important to empire building or contributing to the empire. That wasn't the reason why you became independent. No. People fought, people struggled, people resisted, people revolted, and people have earned their space to be around the table and to be part of this dialogue, to be part of the universal discourse. And that's what I want to broaden, and that's what I want to contribute to, the universal discourse. Now, if I could turn to CARICOM and the CARICOM meeting here. There are people who say, whether it was successful or not. That's not what I really want to contribute
Let
to.
me ask you a question before you delve, because you've been in politics, the real politics, for a number of years. I want to be enlightened. Don't you think, maybe I'm wrong, don't you think by now we should have heard a definitive statement that says what they concluded to, whether they are united or not?
Well, I listened to an interview this morning, which is and Mia was saying, as we speak, there should be a communique going out. So I didn't hear the communique, but I think that there should be something out by now. I look forward to hearing it officially, but and I do believe that there would be a statement, and I do believe it will address a number of things. I had the privilege of meeting, and full disclosure, Quinn. Full disclosure, the Prime Minister of Trinidad came in on Monday afternoon, and I met with her for dinner on Monday night.
Okay.
I was privileged and happy to meet with a team of her people, some maybe around in the teens, and I also had about a similar number of citizens from all walks of life, meeting her and welcoming her. I am eternally grateful to the owners of Spratnet, because she said she didn't want any hotel food. She didn't want no food from the restaurants close to the hotel or anything like that. She wanted local food.
Yeah,
That's what she said.
Fancy food.
She said she wanted local food, and she reminded me of a place I took her some time ago. I said, yes, that's Spratnet. So I had to call the owners and ask them if they will open on Monday night, and they gracefully pull a staff together and open for us. And I am eternally grateful that I was able to welcome her to St. Kitts,
Yes.
welcome her team to St. Kitts, her foreign minister, her minister within the ministry, and family, and other people. And we had, what I would say, a very good time meeting old acquaintances, people who worked on the boundaries case with her, lawyers, and we were graced with the presence of the first Prime Minister, a national hero, a former Speaker of the House as well. We met with, there was one time that she not missed the flight. Well, the flight was delayed tremendously to take Liat, and therefore I didn't want to just be standing or sitting around the airport. So I left the airport and I went by a friend of the family, who is Telka Francis, and there's a little history there. My mom worked for Telka Francis, And as a result of that relationship, my mom went to Canada, and I and the family went to Canada as well. So I took her by Telka, and she was able to talk with Telka and Ben for some time. And because they have gone, to the great beyond, I felt that I should introduce Reg to her, and therefore I had Reg there as well, and a number of other people. Like I said, this was not just a PAM crowd or thing. These were people from all walks of life that she met. The only people that I wasn't able to pull together on short notice was her friends from the gas station at the top of 4th Street, who she met and she always asks about and so on. But I'm just letting you know, there were people that she met along the way.
Yeah.
And she was happy to see them. People who
And
took
and
care of
and
her when she was here in
speaking in
2009, 2010.
speaking in terms of broadening the conversation
Yeah.
and making it varied, that is a good point you made, that she emphasized she wanted local food.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come here, and our local people seem to feel that this should be giving them some fancy thing from.
No.
And I've often heard them say, don't give us what we've been getting when we're there. We
Yeah.
want what you eat.
Yeah,
But
she-
somehow we want to look down on our food, and that is what
Yeah.
they want.
She even reminded me that I took her someplace on the lawn one time, and she got something, and I realized it was down Debe on the lawn by the gentleman down there, not Arthur's, but across from Arthur's, the little shack, sitting on the bar stools and so on. I said, yeah, that's where I took you. So she was remembering these places that she went and craving, and being back in saying she wanted those food. And therefore, she told me when she told the officer that she's going to Spratnet, and they said to her, well, Spratnet doesn't open on Mondays. She told him, well, Chesty tell me come and I'm going. She said, what's Chesty tell her come? She's
Well,
going. And that was the end of the story.
That was the end of the story.
So I'm just bringing that back. And then, they went into session on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, I know she met with Marco Rubio and others, and therefore she did not stay for the end of the meeting. She had to travel back to deal with something urgently back home, and therefore she didn't stay. But our Foreign Minister, Mr. Sean Sobers, Honorable Sean Sobers, and Minister Morris within her ministry, they stayed and they were able to carry out. She also brought the Chief Secretary of Tobago.
Okay.
And his entourage, the secretary, the chief secretary, and about 7 of them were here as well. So they were able to contribute and meet with people here, including on both islands. Let me just put it that way. I'm not going to say who they meet with or who they didn't meet with. It's not for me to say. But I am just saying that there was a big contingent from here, as far as I know. I was busy in court, so I wasn't able to meet with anyone else. And I know people were trying to meet. One of the things, I know a friend of mine, who traveled here because he said, listen to me, it's the only place I could meet 4 of the people I need to meet without jet setting around the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. So they came here for those meetings and were given good time to meet with, slotted in for meetings, the one-on-one meetings that the necessary CARICOM ministers were having. So I do believe the meetings would produce. I heard on the radio that even the grandson of Fidel Castro was here and unofficially met with certain people and things like that. So
that is good to hear.
The back room and the back channel seems to be working. So I do believe they're just thinking about what to release to the public and what not to release to the public, because they have to craft the statement so that it meets the liking of every capital, because they can't say certain things, If you're not officially meeting with the Palestinians, you can't say you're meeting with them. You know, so you would say you meet with Qatar, or you meet with, things like that. You
The only thing.
the U.S. embassy in Cuba has always been the Swiss embassy for a long time. You can't. They're not meeting with the U.S. You go to the Swiss embassy and you speak there, and therefore the message will get to the capital that it needs to go to. So I'm just letting you know that there were other meetings that are not on the official schedule that were happening, and I hope that they had a productive and successful meeting.
Well, I heard a few individual leaders speak. I heard the leader from Jamaica.
Yes.
I heard the leader. I heard your friend, Bassessa. I heard a bit of a speech from the Antigua Barbuda leader. I heard from our leader. I heard a few of them, but apart from the only one who spoke sounding with any real conviction in their voice, well, only two of them. That was our leader, because he was adamant, and I could hear the emotion, when he said that he studied in Cuba, and that if Cuba is affected, it's going to be affecting all of us. So there was some passion there, and there was also some passion in Bassessa. She was also adamant. But the rest of them that I heard, they were the usual politics, kind of being, in my opinion, very, very diplomatic and kind of hedging, rather than being firm.
I would have liked to be not the speechwriter for Dr. Jew, but at least doing an edit.
Yeah.
And what I would have done, because just before he went into the part about him studied for the transparency, I was basically saying that is where he should be going.
Yes.
He went there, but I would not have just gone there. I would have said it this way: I studied not only in Cuba, but I studied in the USA. I have had an education in both worlds. It is because of that I am who I am. That's how I would have taken it. You understand? And show that he was able to draw on both sides. I've had an education in the socialist / world with my first degree. I have benefited from going on to internal medicine / in a graduate program in the US. And therefore, our people can continue to, and I would have wrapped it like that. But, I could understand sometimes you don't get the necessary people to bounce or to edit. But that's what I would have definitely done in bringing.
I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you put forward. But I preferred what he did, because I prefer that he just dealt with just Cuba alone. I hear what you're saying. That's a more diplomatic.
No, it's not just about being diplomatic. You see, the message that I keep bringing here every week. I keep saying it, and it was echoed by the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and it was echoed by Bassessa again. We don't have to be monolithic. We don't have to, it doesn't mean unity doesn't mean unanimity.
I hear you, and I don't disagree with Mr. Chesley, but what I'm saying, I prefer his stance.
That's fine. I am not simply saying that it is not for someone to like. I am just saying, if I were Chesley, would have given an edit, I would have shown people that listen to me. We have benefited tremendously, not only from Cuba, because you see, there are some people who want to bash Cuba, and there are some people who want to bash the others. There is no need for bashing. That's basically what I'm saying. You call a spade a spade.
But I believe the U.S. needs some bashing, though. That is my opinion. With the way they're dealing with us.
Whoever step out the line needs bashing.
Yeah.
I am not simply saying there's not. I'm just saying you don't have to be one-track minded.
I hear you, and I
in your analysis.
I hear you.
In anyone's analysis.
I hear you.
There is enough blame, enough finger point to go around any table. But there is enough as well upon which we can plant, we can grow, we can blossom, and benefit from too.
I hear you. I don't disagree. Look, I don't disagree with your stand. I'm just saying what I prefer. I prefer the stance that he took.
That's good.
Hello, caller.
Hey, greetings and salutations.
Same to you.
Greetings.
I want to take a shot at the opening ceremony. Let me ask both of you this question. If you win, Quint, if you are host, would you come to work?
If I'm a host,
If you host, I'll speak,
oh. Well, it depends. It depends on the importance of the job, and I might feel like, okay, I'm host. I'm gonna come, but I'm gonna apologize and do as less speaking as I can. But I would come because I know my presence is needed.
Mr. Hamilton, how say you?
It depends
Would
on
you
how,
go to court
I-
in that condition?
there are times when you just have to show up. You cannot show up on it because there are consequences for not showing up.
I understand that,
There are
but
consequences. I know what you're getting at, and that the female host was host, and she still made an effort. There were things that might have been able to do, in order to pull it out. But yeah, I'm not gonna bash someone for giving 100%, even if their truth was failing.
Because
Next
sometimes
question.
sometimes that happens. Like you're good up until the moment, and then bam, you find your voice is not there.
next question. The other host, do you believe we are at 98% literacy?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm not going to be nitpicking about many of things. I'm going to put it this way. The male host had a very bad day. Okay? I am not even going to say anything more because I don't want to nitpick. I do not want
That's
to
all I
nitpick.
want to hear you say.
I do not want
No.
to nitpick. The male host had a very bad day. And whatever that is, I think a lot of thought went into that program. The way that they had the drummers, the masquerade, the poetry, the music. If I were to even give a 2% contribution, I would have asked for the string band to play the national anthem as opposed to having someone sing it. I'm not telling you that the person who sang it didn't sing it well or didn't do a good job. It's just my preference. I want to see more events that we have. The string band, even if someone is singing, the string band plays the national anthem at some of these more official and cultural presentation that we have throughout St. Kitts and Nevis. That's me. Nobody has to agree with me. Nobody has to take my opinion. I want somebody help the string band to orchestrate the national anthem. And I want, just like how David Rudder was able to bring Rally Round the West Indies and make it something that is now orchestrated, meaning you add the orchestra vibe to it. I want something similar done with our national anthem, the people who knows music, and the string band. Because I believe if the string band becomes a regular player of our national anthem, it will speak volumes. That's it.
And here's another one.
That would be my contribution. I'm not telling you, and again, I'm going to say a lot of thought went into the way they had the drummers, the music, the poetry, even the finale, and having Connery sing at the end of it. I believe a lot of thought went in terms of the programming, and if it was well executed, even 80% executed, it would have been at it. If I could add a little bit more, one more percent more, I would have produced it. I'll have somebody like what's Conrad's dad name? Contender. A contender, a person like a Bouncing Williams. He's not here with us now, but somebody like that produced. It needed to be produced. I didn't. The music when they were being introduced didn't really go with what I think the introduction should have been and so forth. But if you put a person like a contender to produce it with the necessary lighting, the music in the background and so forth and things like that, I mean, it would have been dynamite. But I could see a lot of thought went in to the programming. It was not it did not go off without a hitch. That's my only take on it. But I think it was a damn good effort. That's it.
You know, here's another one. The videography was poor.
Oh well, that is something you comment about. I didn't see that part. I didn't recognize.
No. Listen. They seems to had one camera.
No, they had more than one camera.
No, well, they should use them because here you have people making speeches and making certain comments, and there was no capturing of those people who they are referring to.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Or maybe that was intentional.
Well, I mean, but you're on the world stage.
Yeah, that in my opinion is not really good videography. I didn't see the thing, you know. I didn't see. I only commented in terms of the voice because I can understand somebody being hoarse and that kind of stuff. But I didn't see. I only saw snippets and pieces after the fact. But when you're doing videography, you want people to know who is speaking and get glimpses of the audience. And if you're referring to somebody, you have cutaway shot. It makes it more exciting rather than a dull monotony.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
And, you know, I find it strange that...
But that is where I come back to the word production. If it was produced, if you had a producer doing this sort of thing, knowing what is to come, then it can, with the necessary lighting and sound and so on, you would get it done. But I am not going to hit the effort. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you saw the presentation from the virtual high school, it was better than this.
But they had a producer. They produced the event.
And one more thing, and then I'm going to leave. You want to tell me in 2026 we could not have a teleprompter in there? Everybody looking down, reading. Those things are old things. You're on a world stage. You know, there should have been a teleprompter in there with information there and people looking up, not looking down.
Like I said,
You understand what I'm saying?
like I
Well,
said,
I hear you.
a lot of effort went in. The execution and the delivery might not have been 100%, but I am not going to hit the effort.
Caller, I hear you on that, and I also agree with you on that, because this is a Caribbean Heads of Conference. This is a whole thing. You had time to plan it, you know, the venue and everything. And yeah, I agree with you on that. I saw a little clip of an individual performing something. I didn't dwell on it because to me it was in bad taste, but there was this male figure and he was trying to say a poem or whatever about a woman and
foreign affairs and so on. I know what you're talking about.
And how it was put over, it sounded more a bit too graphic and leaning towards sexual innuendos as opposed. And I was looking at the audience, and you could see the audience was like,
Really?
you understand? So, yeah, that was really in bad taste.
One more observation. Where was our Calypso King?
Oh.
I saw another Calypsonian. Where was the king?
Well, I'm not going to comment.
Maybe Juicy did not fit the theme of what they wanted to portray. They had certain themes, and they probably felt that they were working the theme, and that's why they went with We Is We and Connors.
Yeah,
let
but you see, one of the things about being the Calypso king, that when you have these functions, these is things, the king would get to participate in.
Look, that is going to bring me to the speech that Bassessa gave. One of the things that we are missing about what Bassessa said is that Bassessa said that the CARICOM is not supposed to be just about the governing parties. It's supposed to be about opposition parties as well. And when she made reference about she being leader of the opposition and writing to CARICOM, not to Barbados, she wrote to CARICOM, and up to now she hasn't gotten an answer. What she is basically saying is this: if we gonna do something for each other and for the region, well, when a leader of the opposition writes to CARICOM, at least acknowledge the damn letter.
I agree.
At least say we have, not because it might be rubbing another prime minister or whatever, another territory wrong, and the prime minister from where I write might not want me on the agenda, but CARICOM has a responsibility even to say we are in receipt of your letter and it will be given due consideration, if nothing else. If nothing else. That is too much to ask. And she is insisting that yes, I mean, opposition parties don't, did opposition parties get invitation? I heard the Prime Minister speaking and saying, well, I hope that the Premier is here. Is he invited as the leader of the opposition or the Premier? These are things. And then when he is meeting, I do not know if people of the opposition in Nevis, I do not know. I did not see the pictures or whatever. But I'm hoping that it was an inclusive issue. The minority leader and the majority leader being part of when we have these sort of things. I'm just saying, I am hoping that we will then start to get that way. I told someone that when there's a CARICOM meeting, if when the Prime Minister of Jamaica comes here, he can leave with, if we have 10 Jamaicans in our prison, leave with them. That is when CARICOM starts to work. If the Prime Minister of Trinidad come here and she could leave with the handful of Trinidadians that are in our prison, that is when CARICOM is really working. Yeah, and the person look at me, he said, Chesty, what we all think about those things? I say, the relief it will have if the CARICOM, all the other prime ministers leave with who from their country in our prison, you know what the relief on our budget that will be? People don't think of those things. They don't think of those things. But I sure if you find out how many people from around the CARICOM region in our prison, it will be more than 20. You know, it is to provide 20 prisoners with room and board and shelter and food 3 times a day around the clock. It is a significant tax on the budget.
Okay, Carla, you have anything else? I want to take a bit of a commercial break.
Yeah, look, one last comment. That lady she was magnanimous when she made a statement, because the first thing caught my thought, where was our national hero? At the 50th.
He was there, He was invited.
Prime Minister.
He was invited.
At the 50th.
He was invited. I know he was there.
But again, if the videography was functioning properly, I wouldn't be asking this question.
I listen to me. What? There's a piece in Dr. Drew's speech when he talking about how CARICOM was built in the 50th year. Between Simmons and Douglas, they were at and contributing to the growth of CARICOM for 35 years. 20 by Douglas, 15 by Simmons. 35 of the years that CARICOM has been in existence. 2 guys were in the room. Who were at the table? If you add the 7 for Timothy and the 3 or 4 for him, you realize We had more than 40 years that could have been in the room of people who had contributed to CARICOM growth and development. That is worthy of mention.
But one last thing, and that's it for me, is one thing I observed was that the guy who said he wasn't going to be in the back of the bus, he wasn't up front. So he seemed as if he was in the back.
Who is that?
That the videographer captured.
Who is that?
Because we all saw who was up front.
Who is the guy who
Said he wasn't going to be in the back of the bus.
I don't think I should say it, but we all know who made a statement.
I'm not aware. I didn't know. I'm not aware.
I don't know the reference.
Well, Mark Bradley said he ain't staying in the back of no bus, but he was.
Okay.
Okay.
But why do you feel it is right for you to interject that here when we're trying to get Caribbean unity?
And they went across to Nevis
Caller.
on the Thursday.
Caller?
I need the reference.
No.
The relevance.
It's just the way the seating arrangement was. If you look at it.
Okay.
We saw people who was not who I think it's up front. But our leader from Nevis, he must be was in the back.
Okay. Well, like I said, I didn't see the ceremony, so I can't comment much on it.
You must try looking at it.
All right.
All right then.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for your contribution.
Yeah. Let's take a bit of a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
From February 1st to February 28th, the TDC Home and Building Depots are offering 3 products for its 2 products of the month promotion. Yes, we know it's unbeatable. Also on sale with the Canon Pixma 2110 Megatank printer with USB printing capabilities, soft touch button commands, and multi-page printing per minute. Originally priced at $1,240, now $930. Save $310. Available at the TDC Home and Building Depots on the Frigate Bay Road in St. Kitts and Pitty's Industrial Estate in Nevis.
Here are your Horsford Value Mart IGA Blue Tag Special.
Running February 19th to March 4th.
Hunt spaghetti sauces are just $5.99. Progressive soups, $13.99. Essential everyday chunk and shredded cheeses, $7.99. La yogurt, $3.39. Blue Bunny ice cream, just $25.99. IGA or essential everyday waffles, $11.99.
Hello, our value deals. IGN Essential Everyday Honey Beer, $19.99. Chef Boyardee canned pasta and microwave pasta, $6.99. IGN Essential Everyday canned tuna, $3.49. Langus cranberry and pomegranate juices, $11.99. Soft soap liquid hand soap, $8.99. Irish Spring bar soap, $11.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart. Tell them in Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en Value Mart.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
And we're back with you. The time 10:40, and Mr. Chesley Hamilton, that caller, while he was speaking about various things, I realized something that perhaps you referenced when you said when you used the word production. Going forward, people should be aware that we're being broadcast around the world, and people are observing you, and they're going to be doing so through very keen, scrutinic eyes. So, in the future, make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. That's why I said, someone who knows theater, a contender, I mean, the top of the top for me is Clem Bouncing Williams, but someone who knows and understands theater and production should have been the one who was producing the everything. Have the clowns line up, have the next artist ready to come on, no dead time. They're there. You may not have a green room, but you have the people there on cue that as soon as someone is finished, the next person comes on, and you cut away and cut on. It should have been produced. That's all I'm saying. But you can see thought went in to the programming, but it just wasn't produced
Properly. Hello, caller.
Good morning, Chesley, Clint.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Wonderful.
Just like to intrude some of my thoughts into what you all been talking about. Well, first of all, the venue. I think it should not have been a tent. Honestly, right? It goes back, of course, to what some of us have been saying for quite some time. A place like the Fort Thomas site should have been more like a convention center that can accommodate more people and have better facilities. Because the person who called about the teleprompter is correct. Really and truly, that should have been available, along with other things that would have made the whole presentation much better. And I think even at this stage, probably they could have used the Marriott Ballroom, just make sure that they had some sort of tent or something outside with big screens that can accommodate the overflow. But just use that setting. I think that setting alone would be much better. I think, and it also goes to what you said about the production, right? It would have facilitated that much better, right? So, and you're absolutely right about the production. And really, there was no excuse for it not being produced, if you ask me. All right, new, based on all that has been happening, and the kind of meeting it was built to be, that we will be on the world stage, and so our best foot should have been put forward.
Hold a second there. Let me ask Mr. Chesley something. Again, I refer to you, Mr. Hamilton, because you've been in politics for a long, long time. Does the Prime Minister have anything to do with the aesthetics of something like this, or is it done by other individuals?
Well, I think his Prime Minister's office, the PMO, and the ambassador, I know that the ambassador, Larry Vaughan, is not really in place, and therefore he wasn't able to, he might not have been there to lend the necessary logistical and support, but the grafting and pulling other people on a temporary basis. The Prime Minister personally was traveling, and other leaders and so on got here before him. So I can't, the buck stopped with him. But he needs to have the necessary people around him,
yes,
to produce and pull off something like that to make him look good.
The reason
so therefore, yes, the buck stopped with him, but you have to pull people who have done these things and know how to do these things. I know the Deputy Prime Minister is normally a person for some of these sort of things, and making sure that backdrops and and things are well put in place. But I don't know who had carriage. I really don't know who had carriage. But
The reason I ask that is
they have been planning for this for a long time, and therefore I just believe that they had the necessary time to get it right.
the reason I ask that is because a number of us have been saying that the Prime Minister should have stayed here, dealt with things here, and set up things here in a way that this could come off. He was traveling. I felt that some individuals say, well, he had to meet these individuals personally and blah blah blah. I kind of disagree. I feel that he should have stayed here, put emphasis on what is being done here, perhaps given a little pointer and say, well, okay, even though someone is going to be controlling how things are set out, well, I can give an input and say, I would like this, and maybe you could tweak it here, and there. The reason I say that too is because up to now, like I said, you said that we should be getting a communique. I'm getting the sense that his traveling as usual hasn't been as fruitful as we would want it to be. Even when we're ready to give him the benefit of the doubt, the proof is in the pudding. You understand?
Well, I heard some of the influencers around him say the fact that most of the heads came, that was success. If that is how they measure success, they have a very low, very low.
You understand?
But give them that.
Yes.
Okay. If the Prime Minister doesn't trust the dark web, and therefore he doesn't want to have these meetings via Zoom or Team or any of that because
feel he might be
and he felt that the
compromised.
sensitivities of this and the eavesdropping that is capable,
Yes,
he
yeah.
had to go and eyeball these people. I give him that too. I take their story at the highest. Okay? I take your story at the highest. I am not in the room. I do not have the information you have. If that is the story you're giving, you remember the last time when I said about the CARICOM and the Haiti thing. I said the story they're giving me doesn't make sense. You realize that?
Yeah.
I take people's story at the highest. And when I took that story at the highest, I said that does not make sense. It doesn't check out. Somebody tried to pull a fast one on me. If the Prime Minister said to me, I had to, because of the sensitivities I was dealing with, I couldn't be saying these things on any of these mediums. I had to go and eyeball people. I take him at his word.
But Mr. Hamilton, I hear you, but here's what I'm saying. That is why I say we were prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Amen.
Which
Right.
means we say, okay, we hear you, you're going to do so and so, but that is why I ended by saying the proof is in the pudding.
Right,
so
and
far,
therefore somebody with the necessary competencies. Don't tell me we in St. Kitts Nevis don't have no one with the necessary competencies to deal with the aesthetics, the logistics of the production. I mentioned a name.
yeah.
I am not afraid. I mean, he could tell me he ain't got the capacity or the capabilities, and I would doubt that. I know contender knows theater. I know he knows theater, and I'm better than most. And if you had to call upon him to produce this, I know he would have done a better job. So tell me somebody, if contender can't do it, tell me someone else who is in Crichton Pension, somebody who is in the theater,
Yeah.
in that genre of thing, that could have produced this and do a good job. The guys who have been around Carifesta, traveling up and down the Caribbean, they know how to produce.
Mr. McMahon, back to you.
Yes. Keeping on the function itself, the aesthetics and so on. There were snafus, I think, that should not have happened. The thing with Reuben Mead of Montserrat, for instance, there's no excuse for that. If everything was prepared for properly, that would not have happened.
I really don't want the show to go down that road in terms of the male host. I just put it, the male host had a very bad day. And let's move on, because if we go through every bad thing that that the male host did. We're gonna come down in terms of
That's
ABC.
all.
That he doesn't know the alphabet. You're gonna go down.
That is all I'm saying.
Calling Bahamas instead of Barbados and all kind of thing. I mean, he might say the time or whatever. I don't need to know.
You're bringing them in. What I'm saying is, right? Even all that is part of the production and give an overall sense of professionalism and diplomacy and all of that. Okay. With regard and by the way, I bearing in mind the kind of meeting it was, and bearing in mind the sensitivities about big island, small island, big premier, big prime minister, smaller prime ministers, and all of that, I'm saying that shouldn't have happened.
But speaking about countries on islands, when you know that Guyana is not an island, Belize is not an island, should I go further?
Okay. I know. I get your point that we don't want to belabor that.
If we go into everything the male host said, we will just spend the entire show on that. So just say he had a bad night.
Okay. All right. With regard the premier, because he seemed to complain about it as well, about not the fact that I think compared the fact that Kamala, and I say Kamala because the saying Prasad ties my tongue. Okay, Kamala is much easier. Worked with her Tobago counterpart, shall we say? I think he was a bit peeved that Dr. Joe didn't give him more visibility in it, but it also speaks to these idiosyncrasies that we have in our system, because really and truly we should not have had the premier being leader of the opposition as well, because it's a meeting of heads. It's not a meeting of leaders of the opposition or premiers, and so he should know when to take a back seat.
But it speaks to the individual, because you have to remember, Vance Armory gave Malcolm Gishard leader of the opposition. Okay, there was a time when Palmer had won. They were in a Palmer had two. They had two, and he became leader of the opposition. When he became deputy premier, it was felt that he would then hand over leader of the opposition, but he then decided if he's going to hand over leader of the opposition, he needs to appoint the senator. So therefore, that left that way. It is about the individual, and if the individual want to be the grablemania and grab everything onto himself, right? Then that's in the room.
But our system should not allow for that kind of ego. To me, it's ego tripping. It should not allow for it.
Hold a second, Mr. McMahon. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello. Yes, it's me. I'm here. Do you want me to listen, or could I?
Good morning, Greg.
If you're going to be brief, you can just make your statement.
Make a contribution, Greg. We have no difficulty.
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Quint, as well. Okay, let me say something quickly. First of all, greetings in the name of Jesus Christ, the only Savior of sinners from the sins and from hell, by the gospel only, through faith only, based upon the Bible only. Now, I'm going to say something concerning CARICOM, okay? But it's not going to deal with CARICOM proper. I would like to say that. It's not going to deal with CARICOM proper, but it involves CARICOM. What I really about is that, okay, number one, let me say I tuned in very late, okay? Mike, let me ask a question. Was the opposition there?
The opposition is CCM, so the official opposition.
Let me rephrase the question. Were the opposition parties, the different opposition parties, were they there?
Well, I could say this. The Honorable Sean Richards wasn't there. Did he get an invitation? I think so. He traveled, so he's off island. But
Okay.
did the People's Action Movement get an invitation? I don't think so.
PLP and all the others.
I do not know about PLP, but that they would be in a position to answer.
But apparently they were not in the audience, right?
I didn't see the entire audience. I don't know. I didn't see the shot. I really don't know.
Okay. The reason why I ask this question is this. And like I said, it's not about CARICOM proper, but it still involves CARICOM. Now, yesterday on Voices, I spoke out against the incompetencies of the opposition parties, all of them. And this is another point where they dropped the ball again. And I think they also dropped the ball bigly again. Now, first of all, let me give kudos to Manners. Okay, first of all, for his one-man protest with his placard, that sort of stuff. Let me give kudos to Manners for that. Now, what I'm also going to say is this, and show you how they dropped the ball bigly, the opposition parties, all of them. I think since they was not going to have a say at CARICOM, okay, the second best thing that they could have done is to be out there with Manners, with their placards, pushing for issues concerning CARICOM. Manners' placard was, I think, from what I saw, I think it was to do with Cuba and how America is dealing with Cuba. And I think they too should have been out there with their placards, and maybe things written on the shirts as well, concerning the same thing that Manners was protesting about with Cuba, but also concerning Venezuela and telling people, oh, you got to send back home your Cuban students and you can't send your students to Cuba and all of those things. And the other various ways that America is negatively dealing with the Caribbean islands. I think they should have been out there with the placard, sending these messages so that Rubio and all the other Caribbean leaders would have seen them and would be cognizant of all of these messages going into the meetings. Okay, and that the people would have seen how serious the opposition's different parties are concerning these matters and how they're taking their stance in fighting for the people and for the different countries and that sort of stuff. But since they didn't did what Manners did, and obviously there wasn't there talking in the meetings, that sort of stuff, I think they dropped a great opportunity, big time.
Okay.
And I think this would also help them in building momentum going into the elections. I think the opposition party, they fall short too many times.
I hear you, Greg. I like that. I remembered when I was in active politics, there was a CARICOM meeting, heads of government meeting at the central bank, the ECCB, and we put off a demonstration there about electoral reform the morning when they were driving in, and I know that was an important thing for us. It's hard to now be talking about electoral reform when then the unity government had 7 years in the office, and the only thing they did was to rescind the early voting legislation. Yes. So, what was the demonstration and the lockup and all these things about when you then spend 7 years at the helm and you did nothing about electoral reform? And so on. Some people like me who did the fight, Manners, who were in the trenches. It hurts. I mean, it hurts because up to today we don't have real biometrics. We don't have even if it's a thumbprint. You want a visa and you give the U.S. government all 10 fingers, and you give them your eye mapping, and you give them everything. You want to give for your iPhone, you give it to Apple, you do all of these things, but to ensure the integrity of your government ministers, your parliament, your leaders, you can't give up one fingerprint, one.
Yes, yes.
And therefore,
Yes.
when I see different government come, government goes, different people come into the helm, and absolutely nothing,
including this present.
absolutely nothing. I mean, what was I out there talking about and educating people about electoral reform and getting locked up and getting prosecuted for?
Yes.
It hurts.
Yes.
I'm not saying it doesn't. It hurts.
Yes, it does.
So I am putting my livelihood on the line. I am putting my family's well-being on the line. And then when these guys get in the cushy position, right, around the table, I've never been around the table. And people ask me, Chesley, why did you come back in 2022? In 2022, I made the decision that I can't trust the people around the table to make decisions for me. I have always said, I don't want to be there. These are well-intended, well-educated people who graduate top of the class, people who went to Harvard, people, who said they're the brightest person in the world, people who were the best insurance person throughout the Eastern Caribbean, people well qualified on paper and certified to be decision makers. I trusted them. And I'm simply saying, when you trust people like that and they fall short, they did not deliver for you, you have to say, little boy, look, I have to try to get in the room to make the decisions that I think should be made.
Yeah.
And in 2022, that's why I gave up my Canadian citizenship, to try to get in the room to make the necessary decisions. The people said no, and therefore I hung up my guns again. Okay? That's all I say.
Yes.
So therefore, that is why I'm not in active day-to-day politics. If I had to lend my mind to any of the issues facing CARICOM today, I would have done so. I'm a friend of the Prime Minister of Trinidad. She came in on Monday. She decided, Chesley, can we meet for dinner? I don't want no hotel food. I want some local food. I called the Spencer boys. I got Fatnet to open, and I met, had a little conversation with her. Her speech was no surprise to me. Basically, it was not a surprise to me because she told me, she asked the question, are you all invited and are you going to be there? And when we went around the table, only one person was around the table that was invited. And when I say only one, Dr. Simmons had an invitation. A person who was around the table was Constance Viola Mitchum, and she had no invitation.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing. You understand? So therefore, it was by invitation. You had to go to security. You couldn't just show up. This is not a place where you could just say, boy, I'm going to the thing. I'm interested in going. You had to be invited because of the necessary security. But they choose who to invite and they choose who to have to invite.
Yeah, but Chesley,
somebody else said everybody couldn't be invited.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying, you as opposition leader, you as opposition parties, let me put it that way, there's a lot of stuff you can do, but they don't realize. And I think one of the things that they should do is maybe absolve Manners and take a leave out of Facebook. Because, kudos to Manners, but he should not have been there alone. Definitely the different parties should have been there adding their voice because they would carry a lot of clout. And that would be very good for them.
Sometimes these same opposition parties hide behind Manners. They produce the stuff for Manners, and the Manners is brave, and Manners will go and do what he think is right. But like I said, I never asked anybody to do anything that I wouldn't do. That's
and they got to realize, they're out there doing it themselves is even better than just putting everything on Manners.
Right, but I'm just letting you know, when we decided to pull off the demonstration and electoral reform up by the central bank, I was there, Lindsey Grant was there, Sean Richards was there, we were there. right?
Yeah,
We
you didn't
were
send man
at that
to
time
do your job.
we were basically saying we're not asking our supporters to do anything that we wouldn't
Right.
do. We got locked up twice demonstrating, right? So
Right.
therefore, that is what we felt about leadership, and therefore I was confident that when that leadership reached in the halls of decision making, they would always do the right thing. I wasn't totally correct.
Well, maybe Chesley, well, maybe you need to be the advising these the party, especially
You can't
Sam,
advise
who you're
them.
more
You can't
associated
advise
with
them if
about
they
these
tell you to
things.
advise them, you know.
Eh?
When they're in power, you can't advise them if they ain't want your advice.
Well, okay.
But
Anyhow,
that is
Jesus
why,
Christ is-
Gregory,
Yes.
but that is why
Yes.
I am here.
Yes.
Because this is the universal discourse. This is where
Yes.
you can come, and you could never say that you come here, and no matter what your point of view, you were disrespected.
Right.
I have always said to you, you are free
Right.
and open to contribute. And
Right.
therefore, I want you to contribute no matter if I don't agree with with what you have to say or anyone else, because this is the universal discourse that we are having
Right.
in moving dialogue, in moving education, in moving the conversation forward.
Right. Right.
Respectfully.
And your Chesley and Quint, you know, like I will say again, there's another thing I want to say how they fall short again, but they ain't really got nothing to do with CARICOM, but another time for that. But anyway, until then, Jesus Christ is the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords, and he is in control of everything, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. Jesus Christ is. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. God bless you all.
You have a good weekend.
Okay, Mr. McMahon, you've been waiting patiently, so say your piece.
Yeah. I wanted to also say that with regards the program itself, again, it speaks to the production that Chesley was talking about. I agree with you that that presentation you spoke about was a little misogynistic. Yeah, it made some people uneasy, definitely.
A little?
Okay. Huh?
A little?
What you said, as it should? That's what you said, Chesley?
You said a little.
Uh-huh.
You said a little.
And you said what?
You don't need the adjective.
All right. Little is an adjective, isn't it?
In other words, he's saying, you said a little and he said a little, so you understand what that implies.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's the tone he said it in.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Listen to the tone.
Okay. And generally, I don't know how, Chesley, you know how they would have chosen the speakers at the opening?
Well,
Do you have any idea?
Some thought went into it. They had, you could see that they were trying to convey certain things, whether it's in the drum, the poetry,
No.
the finale.
No. I'm talking about the speakers. Was it
What
by...
it seems like, to me, they wanted to give those who needed to give their maiden speech an opportunity to speak.
Oh.
And then the person who was the last, chairperson to speak, and then the incoming chair at the end.
Okay.
That's my observation. That's my intuition. No one said that to me.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing with doing it that way is that it let whoever is most impactful set the tone for the meeting. And without a doubt, your good friend Kamala did that, because even though
wholeness spoke before.
No, even the wholeness did come out with this unity
doesn't mean unanimity.
Not unanimity. I think he used another word.
But that's my
uniformity.
Right. Uniformity. I use unanimity.
Right. And Kamala picked that up and referred to it as well.
You see,
so what really was supposed to be all about unity, it became kind of reimagined or redefined.
But me and you have had that discussion here. So the fact that they're now echoing it in a bigger chamber doesn't minimize what we have been doing week after week.
No. But what it does, you see, what it does, it is true that unity does not mean that we should all unanimity, as you would say, or to use his word.
To use Conrad's word, sing from the same hymn book.
No, but it does. Unity does demand some kind of conformity. Yeah, you do all kind of battles internally, but when you come to present to the world, to the Caribbean generally and the world, you want a some kind of unified position. You don't want to be dissecting details and so on there. You want to speak, as Conrad said, a bit undiplomatic. He was a bit undiplomatic in front of Kamlo. But as he says, you want to be singing one song. Okay? Right?
When I look at the whole thing from my vantage point presently, sitting here, I'm very disappointed with this so-called Caribbean conference. I'm grossly disappointed because up to this point, I've not heard anything that said, look, we were all waiting with bated breath to hear the Caribbean leaders get together and walk away saying, look, because of the seriousness of what is happening, we are going to unite. And at this moment I sit here, I've not heard that. And the only person who went into that place of those who I heard speak and sounded confident in what they were actually saying going forward was really Kamala. What's her name again?
Kamla Prasad.
Kamla Prasad. And we know she has that strength because it's buttressed by her conviction that, okay.
Yes.
But what happened to all the rest?
She really sounded that like,
yes.
I mean, she was speaking
but
from...
all of the rest of them, every single one that I've heard, and I was disappointed. I'm going to say this again. I was expecting to hear something from Mia Motley. I did not hear anything from her. Why?
Well, I'll tell you, right? I mean, it was interesting when she made her appearance, when she came in. You heard the kind of applause and so on that she got. I mean, obviously, right?
Yes.
So obviously there were huge expectations.
That's what I'm saying.
But you see, I am honestly getting the impression that, and they may be underplaying it, but there is indeed a bit of a rift in CARICOM, right? Subsequent to, well, in the first place, I mean, Kamla, I didn't think she should have introduced that thing about Thomas, this kidnapping and that kind of...
Well, Mia addressed that when she got back home.
Right.
Yeah, and she said it was...
Exactly.
And she even went so far as to say it was a blatant lie. You understand?
Exactly. No, you can't... Those kinds of issues should not have been there at this time.
And again, I'm going to say this. It is not for Mia to answer. It was for CARICOM to answer.
That is what I'm saying.
That is the point she was making. The point is not about Mia or Barbados, The point is she was in opposition. And she wrote to CARICOM. And up to now, CARICOM has not even acknowledged that she wrote to them. And that is the point she's making, The point she's making is that the opposition parties in all of these, CARICOM should not just be about the governing party. A lot of people are missing the point she's trying to nail home.
No. Chesley, it goes beyond that.
It goes beyond that, but I'm simply saying to you, if you can't recognize me, because there is Manning or there is, what's his name, in the room, Robbie in the room, because there's Robbie in the room, because there's the other Prime Minister from Barbados in the room, I am in the opposition. You're saying if I write to CARICOM to address a grievance, CARICOM cannot even acknowledge getting that is the impotence,
And
she's
I-
trying to address.
But wait, Mr. McMahon.
And the reason she's trying to address it is this. If something is happening here in St. Kitts, and I am not in parliament, I'm just in opposition, and I'm writing, I can't get Dougie to anybody from the governing party to help me. I write to regional bodies. I'm writing to CARICOM. I'm writing to the Commonwealth. And they can't even acknowledge that they got a letter from me because our Prime Minister is in the room. That is the problem. That is the bigger problem. How could our people, local people within our bodies, get their grievances addressed if CARICOM ain't gonna want to hear from a normal citizen, never mind a leader of the opposition? That is the point she is trying to make more than she's in the room.
And
she could easily say, and it's not too many. Listen to this part. It's not too many prime ministers get a second chance. Hold on, let me just finish this piece, Quinn. Let me. It's not too many prime ministers get a second chance. They are in opposition. They go into government. When they lose government, they never come back. She is fortunate that she was in opposition. She came into government and she has an opportunity to come back. And when she comes back this time, her message is this: don't ever we forget oppositions because we are in the room. And she wants to make CARICOM broader, more democratic, and more representative. That is the point she is trying to communicate, but it's getting lost in the specific example. It is not about that.
It's not lost, Mr.
Yeah,
Hamilton.
I mean, she
Wait,
made a
Mr.
point.
Mr. McMahon, hold a second. Mr. Hamilton,
Yeah,
it's
go
not
ahead.
lost because you brought it up before, and I agreed.
But I'm repeating it because of Mr. McMahon,
Yes.
not because of you.
Okay. Because, and it is a profound statement, but there's a bit of hypocrisy in there, though.
No problem. Let me hear it.
Mr. McMahon.
What I'm saying, Chesley, yes, I understand that, and she probably didn't do it as eloquently as you did, because apparently it really
Emotional for her.
yes, right, okay, but the fact is, right, what Mia said when she got back, she basically called her a hypocrite. As she said, he without sin cast before a stone when she talked about interference in other countries' election processes, right? And those are riffs just as important as what you would indicate, where any ordinary citizen should have some form of redress from CARICOM.
Yes.
Right? They should, right? But in the final analysis, and we can say the same thing. I saw a clip there with Gaston Brown saying that he had spoken to Kamla about the fact that Trinidad still owes them about $60 or $65 million from the Bico Clico thing, right? And you would think too, because ordinary citizens were affected by that thing, right, that CARICOM should have been able to address that.
Certainly.
But she
I
was
have no
the one
difficulty with
who
saying that.
coupled-
Let me put this one on.
hold on.
Let me address the Bico Clico thing. Remember, I held Denzel Douglas to task when he bailed out the Stanford Bank and didn't raise 1 cent. We didn't raise 1 cent to deal with the policyholders or anything to deal with the policyholders of Bico Clico. So if the Trinidad government paid out its citizens' policies but didn't deal with CARICOM as a whole, what do you expect me to say? No? That they're right? I'm not. Me a hypocrite.
But what I'm saying is other people were affected by that Trinidad company. And the CARICOM, that was an ideal issue for CARICOM to take up. And not only that, you see, not only that, there was an agreement, I think it was Manning before Kamla, and she scuttled it. So you should take that up with her.
But Mr. McMahon, I don't want us to, the main topic of our discussion today should be is the Caribbean going to go forward in a unison? That is the main thing.
Yeah, well, that should have been the point of the conference. But what I'm saying,
but
you got sidetracked.
Yes, but here's where, and I reiterate again, Miss Passad was very adamant. She was forceful in her statement. But here's the hypocrisy. If we're going to use, and I agree with Mr. Chesley Hamilton, she's completely right on that. But here's the hypocrisy. We now have Cuba, and we now have Venezuela. But let's put more emphasis on Cuba. And from how she verbally represented, it's like she's saying, y'all need to forget Cuba, you know. You need to forget. Yeah, you need to forget. So isn't that, Mr. Hamilton, a bit of hypocrisy? Because you want CARICOM to reach out and help you and help the opposition, but now you're saying CARICOM should disassociate and leave because you don't have election. Is that enough? Because the United States is dealing with the Arabian, Saudi Arabia. Are they having election? Is Zelensky having election? How many elected governments has the U.S. overthrown, and today we see their places in chaos? So that is where the hypocrisy
that's what
is.
Congress threw in affairs, you know.
Well, let me put it this way. This is not about Kamala and the hypocrisy with policy and politicians is almost widespread and perverse. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. I'm going to ask you the question. You believe in the two-China policy? You believe or the one-China policy? Which is it? China has a one-party state. But two systems, the communist system and it has the capitalist system at work. Nobody says we're not dealing with China because our definition of democracy doesn't fit with China. Everybody dealing with China. But in CARICOM, some of us dealing with Taiwan, and some of us are dealing with mainland China. Some of us are dealing with citizenship by investment, and some of us are not dealing with it. So therefore, I continually and continuously say, Saturday after Saturday here, that you do not need unanimity and uniformity to have solidarity. And
don't you think something like Cuba, though, should be a galvanizing issue?
And the here is split this way. Here's where some people split the here. Not me, but here's where some people split the here. Some people talk about the Cuban government and some people talk about the Cuban people. Mm-hmm. So that is why CARICOM has now negotiated humanitarian relief and aid of oil for the Cuban people. I don't know how they're going to get that executed, because you're going to get relief and oil for the Cuban people and none for the Cuban government. How are we going to get that? But that is the line they have come out with.
That's
the line they come out with. That they have now secured buying petrol from Venezuela, rebuying at some concessionary rates for the Cuban people.
But Mr. Hamilton,
it was the Venezuelan leader who actually protested against this, you know.
But I'm just telling you how politicians are using language to justify the inconsistent policies.
And Mr. Hamilton, I agree with you on that. Because here's the thing, Mr. McMahon. But I hear what you're saying, you know, but I want us to finish with this middle ground and sidestepping, because what Mr. Hamilton just said is valid. You're saying, oh, well, we want the Cuban government to have elections, so we're not going to deal with them. But the people are suffering, so it's a bit of a hedging. For me, I would have come out and said, look, irrespective of whether the leader of Cuba is democratic or they have election, I would have shown you references of where you're dealing with people who have not had elections. You understand? That is what I would have done.
But Saudi Arabia was in the room.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Saudi Arabia was in the room.
Yeah.
Who's going to throw China out the room?
But not only that, Quinn, all they had to say, because to me this has been CARICOM's policy before this. Just go back to the UN Charter and non-interference in countries' internal affairs.
Yeah.
They've been using that. Okay, if that's no longer the case, then
It's
they
a
should
new
state
world order.
clearly. Huh?
No, continue.
Then they should come straight out and say that, okay? Because one can argue that whatever change in Cuba that should happen in Cuba should be from the Cuban people. They should
I
change
agree.
their system,
Yeah.
right? That's not for us to do.
So, Mr. McMahon, let me ask you this, and also the same question is going to go to Mr. Hamilton, because I'm not, you all are way ahead of me when it comes to, knowing about the political ramifications and how it goes. From so far, where we sit right now, looking at, we've had the meeting, what is your projection? How do you feel? Do you feel that, I'm going to put my feeling, well, I did before, and I'm going to reiterate. My feeling is, as far as I'm concerned, nothing has come out of it, and nothing good will come out of it. But perhaps you being more versed in the political aspects and how things play out, maybe you see something I don't. So give me your answer.
I would say, and there was talk before about the role of the Prime Minister, the fact that he went to the different ministers and got them to come here. Honestly, if you were to ask me, maybe it would have been a good thing if who wanted to come came, who didn't want to come, don't come.
Yeah.
Because then you might have had more consensus
I agree.
and not controversy.
I agree.
That's one part of it. Otherwise than that, what came out, the communique, or whatever you call it, that came at the end, was just run-of-the-mill things, nothing earth-shattering or anything like that, okay? It is still, though, important to at least make sure CARICOM survives all of this, even though it's going through a torrid time. It's still very important, because deep down, I don't know, Chesley, you might know because you've been around more meetings of this sort. But to me, there was a big buzz about this meeting. There were a lot of expectations. And I don't get the impression that these expectations were met. I don't think that Caribbean people as a whole got what they wanted from this meeting, got a clear indication from the leaders of the way forward.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, that is what I see. It was more a case of business as usual, plod along with the old status quo kind of thing, nothing earth-shattering. And in all fairness to them, I think events have overtaken them.
I'm not gonna go there with you. I disagree with you on that. I feel this is a time when they should have, because look, it's not going to change it. If they continue the way they're going, and remember, I want Mr. Hamilton's input on it. If they continue the way they're going, remember, it's the U.S. they're dealing with, you know. And the U.S. is not going to change. The U.S. is testing them, and so far they're failing. Over to you, Mr. Hamilton, your take on the whole thing.
Well, look, prime ministers and sister parties have come to sink it. Prime ministers have entered the platform and campaign on behalf of the Labour Party. Now, you have to say to me, well, prime ministers have come and campaign on behalf of the People's Action Movement too. And I will tell you, show me. I'm not talking about when they're in opposition and they come at our convention. Right? You said they came and during a political campaign, mount a platform and say vote for this and vote for that. That is a whole different that's a whole different thing. And what Kamala is saying, you can't come on a political platform in my country support the government, the incumbent government, and when that person lose, and I come now to CARICOM, you want to hug me up? So if somebody else say, well, you're hugging up, you don't, you're hugging up China, but you don't want to hug up Cuba, that person is free to say that too.
But I'm
if
not.
that person point out an inconsistency, what is wrong, a discrepancy in your messaging or whatever it is, that is why we have conversations.
But Mr.
That is why
Hamilton,
we have this discussion.
But Mr. Hamilton, that wasn't what I was speaking about. Just like Mr. McMahon gave. I want you to give. How do you feel after this is done? That you feel something has been accomplished? That is what I mean.
I believe something has been accomplished. The sensitivities and the sensibilities of sending out the message to the public, I believe, is what is causing them a headache. I am simply saying I've heard a news item that talk about the grandson of Raul Castro being here. But if they can't speak about that person meeting with Rubio because America and Cuba does not have official communications, then they have to find ways of saying who is going to take the credit and who is not going to take the credit. And therefore, it is now going to be CARICOM was able to get humanitarian oil for Cuba as opposed to anything else. So there are back channels, and sometimes if you're not in the room, you don't know what was left on the floor of the movie as a cut.
Mr. McMahon, Chesley is being the politician now because I don't hear the answer. Mr. McMahon, this is Chesley the politician now.
Chesley the politician, boy.
No, I'm just letting you know. The statement is not that the statement is not going to come. And yes, a statement is going I do not know what is but I believe there might have been some success, especially on the Cuban front. But they just can't say it the way that they would like to say it.
But why? Why not?
Yeah. If there's been movement,
yes.
Because you hear other negotiations and so on, and at least you hear that there's been progress or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, how come this one is so mum?
Yeah, that's the question. Why?
Because unless Washington approve the message, and you can't let Washington approve CARICOM message.
Oh dear.
So we haven't made any grounds then. We're still waiting for Washington.
But if Washington does not have an official policy of speaking with Cuba, how you gonna get that do? How you gonna get it do?
That is what I was saying, both Mr. McMahon and Mr. Hamilton. That is what I'm saying. I'm saying from my vantage point here now, I don't see that anything came out of this, because it then means, if I'm going to follow with what Mr. Hamilton is saying, even though he's being very diplomatic in how he's saying it, what we're coming away from this with is we're just where we were when we started this thing.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. We talk about openness and transparency in government on an individual, at the individual level. But there's a whole diaspora of CARICOM citizens out there who need to know things.
Yeah.
Who need to see progress, who need some kind of uplifting, some kind of motivation that this thing is working.
And right now, we are very, very disappointed because remember, Mr. McMahon and Mr. Hamilton. See what I want y'all to wrap your head around. This isn't business as usual. The circumstances are different, and we not only see what happened in Venezuela and what is being pushed on Cuba. We also hear we're being told not to do this and not to do that. Plus, Marco Rubio just came from a meeting in Germany where he made some very, very serious statements, and that is the climate we're in. So knowing that is the climate we're in, why is it that our leaders choose to take the same stance they've been taking before, where we don't know whether they're here or there?
And what's happening too, Because, I mean, look, we wake up this morning, another distraction. There's no war with Iran. Israel and the United States is at war with Iran. So all of this now just is off the front burner.
And maybe it's
Okay.
intentional.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But Chesley, another thing I wanted you to consider, to comment on. I've heard of some shoo-shoo, as we call it, that the government may be considering using this conference as hoping to get a bounce to call a very early election. What? Put on your political strategist hat. And what do you think?
Let's hope they got the bounce because they did a poor job.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, this is
and they fumbled a lot
this
of
is,
it.
yeah,
If-
this is,
if,
yeah.
if they wanted a bounce and put the male host there to give them to deliver for them, I mean they made a royal
Big
mess of
blunder,
it.
yeah, big blunder.
You know,
If this
and you don't blame the male host. You blame who put him there. It's
Yeah,
the decision
yeah,
maker.
the whole
And if the
organization, yeah.
decision maker is incapable of putting proper people in place, then you have to call his judgment in place. That's why Starmer is in trouble. Starmer is in trouble not because he had Manfield or whatever his name as the ambassador to US. It's Starmer made the decision. He knew or he ought to have known.
Couldn't you realize that he's been echoing the same thing that so many people have been echoing before, that it all has to do with judgment and putting the right people in the, how one person called it, the right faces in the right places kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and that's been throughout this tenure.
So that would be a major fumble.
Yeah.
Yes, that has been a cry,
if they were to look at this and see this as somehow a plus for them, no, well that means they have really bad judgment.
Yeah, so if that is the bounce he need to go into an election, then ring the bell.
I was so disappointed in the press conference at the end when, and probably it's because, as you say, Chesley, don't want to talk about certain things, and so there was a apparent fumbling, but should have anticipated those kinds of hard questions from a regional press. Maybe our press here plays softball, but the regional press
But
really did some
Mr.
questions.
McMahon, I'm glad you made that statement. And again, Mr. Chesley, you see, if they would open themselves to being properly questioned, then they wouldn't have this problem.
Look, there are faux pas and fumbles that went along, right? Remember, I keep praising the effort that went into the planning and all that kind of, but there are faux pas and fumbles and all kind of thing that went along in the background. But I don't come on here to badmouth my country. You understand? So therefore, I don't air my dirty laundry in public, and I always speak of an incident where.
If you don't see improvement, though, Chesley, what do you do?
Hold on. I spoke about an example where I landed at Antigua Airport. I'm heading to Trinidad one day. Balang is with me. Balang is an executive of the Labour Party, the Labour Union. And this red cap guy who is a good friend of C.J. Clyburn, he said, bye, how is Dr. Drew? And I just looked to him and said, boy, Dr. Drew doing great. And Balang will look out at me and say, I just look at him. I said, but Balang, me here to the bad time my country with ease and Antigua.
Well, even though I
You
hear...
understand? So what I must go to? Because bad mouth my country and Antigua Airport? No, Dr. Drew doing great. And I go.
But we're here. We're here.
That is what I was just going to say. I can understand you not doing it in Antigua, but you're right on your home soil now.
Right.
So you're telling me you can't critique your own here?
But I did. And I tell
okay,
you, I did not
okay.
want to go into every aspect, blah, 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 and all the particulars of
I
the
hear you.
fumbles
We hear you.
of
We
this
hear you.
person. And I said, let's just say he had a bad day. And leave it at that.
We were critiquing the conference, so as one would expect. I mean, I'm sure there'll be others who will do the same thing. So there's nothing wrong in pointing out the highs and the lows.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And again, if coming out of this conference, the people of Cuba got some relief in humanitarian relief in terms of oil supply and so on. If they can't put it in a communique, well, they can't put it in a communique, but the result is there. They're now selling. They're now reselling the Venezuelan oil at concessionary rate for humanitarian relief to the Cuban people. So therefore, something came of it.
Yeah, of course. If that is indeed the case.
And if nothing else came out of the conference, that is one thing you could point to.
But
I went further and I said,
if that is the case.
But I went further and said,
we don't know. Eh?
Hold on. We don't know. But I went further and said, if the prime ministers that came here, who have citizens in our prison, could jump back on the plane with them, that's true. That would be progress too.
But Mr. Hamilton, I'm looking at the bigger picture, and I'm saying that if things are as they are now, and we don't hear some concrete statement united from the heads of government who came here, we are in a sorry state.
Right, but I believe by Monday morning that will be your news. That's what I believe. If not, I would be disappointed too.
Okay.
I believe if there have been sanctions in our prison, they should go back with the Prime Minister. If there are Grenadians in our prison, they should go back. If they're Trinidadians, they should have been heading back with it and playing with them. And therefore, perhaps if we have Kitishans in their prison, perhaps the prisoner they could come home to spend the time in our prison. I believe the prisoners' exchange should be also part of the CARICOM heads of government meeting.
Yeah, but Mr. Hamilton, I don't want you to. But here's what I want all of us to wrap in our head. Moving forward, dealing with the U.S. and dealing with dealing with our colonialist former masters. How do we do that unless our Caribbean heads of government find some level of unison?
We're dealing with the U.S. The U.S. sending people prisoners to us, not even ours.
But you're dwelling on one thing. I'm speaking about the unified moving forward. If we don't do that,
trying to address the wars of the wars among us, because when you deal with the most vulnerable and the most unrepresented in your society, then you could deal with the bigger picture. That is the lesson I'm trying to say. You know? When you want to deal with the bigger things and feel like only those things matters, what about those who has no representation? What about the sick, the old?
Mr. Hamilton, we hear you, but what we are saying, this Caribbean Heads of Government conference was supposed to come away with something that moves us forward with confidence as a Caribbean region. And even though I hear you on that, that is trivial in relation to us, our Caribbean leaders being able to say, this is how we will deal with others in the future.
Perhaps
and they have not been able to do that.
Tell you something about free movement.
We have
probably tell you something about the single market economy and what progress have been made here. And it was not just a talk shop. They will be able to tell you what is going to affect your day and impact. What has been decided for the most impact tomorrow. And therefore, I am willing to hear when we sat down and we now iron out the fact that this is what is going to happen.
But I don't have any confidence in that happening.
Well, let's hope it happens. Let's hope that, like I said, the region has expectations, and that at least some and the expectation, despite all that has happened, is for some semblance of unity among the leaders. Right? We can't be going backward.
That is what we want.
Go forward, and let's hope that whatever the final communique is, whatever comes out on Monday morning, it gives us hope that we are going in the right direction. Let's just hope. That's it.
Well, even though we are hoping, Mr. Mahan, I am saying, do we at this time feel any, because of how things played out, the little smattering that we know, are we just dwelling on hope? Is there no bit of, for my end, I don't have any confidence that we're going to get this, I don't see it. It would have to be there may be something was happening that we're not aware of.
What was the budget?
I'm saying if
what was the
that's
budget?
something, if that something is good, I would think that we should be aware of it.
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we're not hearing anything. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm just, and I think the entire Caribbean region is disappointed.
Well, you get the road to Frigate Bay patched up because the people who are traversing it. I mean, I wish they could mark it as well. I wish they could mark it with the white paint as well.
Yeah,
and not just patch it up.
Not just patch it up. I agree totally.
You know, I remember when Maduro was coming here, we got the Kim Collins Highway paved. They haven't really paved since then.
Yeah.
So
they started and didn't finish it.
Yeah, they started and didn't finish it. I'm just saying
it's at that level that it affects ordinary people, eh?
But that
right?
is my
because
point.
on that same route, Chesley, you got the stench from the sewage system over here at Frigate Bay, and it's been like that for quite some time. You know, simple things like that affect ordinary people, and I mean the leaders pass there too. So I would imagine they
don't smell that the window up and the AC
sure, the windows are up.
They don't smell them things there. They don't smell and have. You know, they're afraid to go.
They got to find a way to bring things right down to the grassroots. They got to find a way to communicate.
They ain't want nobody come up and see the
right
boss by
down
maybe.
to the grassroots.
You know,
that's what's lacking.
As I sit
Forget
here,
the pomp and ceremony. Yeah, the pomp and ceremony has its place, but that has to translate. All the speeches and plans and so on have to filter down to grassroots people.
And that's why I went to the lawyers, the worst of the worst. If you could carve this meeting and it impact a person behind bars in any which way, that CARICOM has a meeting and there might be a prisoner exchange, then you could then talk about other things. Because you're beginning to say, listen to me, the most vulnerable among us, the worst of the worst, is seeing a tangible result. Could we deal with free movement? Could we deal with single market and economy? Could we deal with digital entry and exits? Could we deal with all of these other things that climate change or the climate crisis, as Mayor would say? Could we deal with these things?
Well, just try something, Chesley. Write to CARICOM. See if you'll get the same non-response as Kamala did, right? With those ideas, because this is the first time I'm hearing something like a prisoner exchange, for instance, which, you know, on the face of it might make sense.
But we have prisoners being forced upon us, but we can't have a prisoner exchange among us.
But Mr. McMahon and Mr. Hamilton, and I'm glad you made that last statement, you know, Mr. Hamilton, because that is why I sit here and I feel lost because because here is it. You're speaking about prisoner exchange, and that last statement that you made is so profound. We have prisoners being forced on us, and this is what I'm saying. We can do all the prisoner exchange among ourselves, and the U.S. don't care one iota. But that is not the issue. The issue is, how do we as a region deal with the pressure that the U.S. is putting on us if we do not find ways of saying it in one uniform way? If, for instance, let's say those prisoners that they want to impose on us, how do we stop that when Nevis is this and St. Kitts is that and Jamaica is that and everybody is going their own way? I heard one of the leaders saying at the end, well, you know, everybody have their own decisions and when it comes right down to it, we have to look after ourselves. And I'm thinking to myself, so this is what this meeting was about?
Right. You know, it's as if there's no shared interests. There are shared interests, and the leaders should recognize them and point them out and then deal with them, not tiptoe. There's too much tiptoeing around some really important issues going on, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, well.
Okay,
you take it.
Thanks, man.
We just got about 10 more minutes left. I don't know. I sit here and I'm very despondent. because I always tend to look forward. I look forward. I have children, grandchildren. You have a son, Mr. Hamilton. You know, we think about what the future will hold. What kind of a future is there going to be when every one of our leaders come here and then walk away and seem man, look, even before, this is what should have happened. If you have a 3-day thing, before the end of the third day, you've already discussed you have come to a consensus, and before the end of the third day, you already know where your stance is. So by the end of the third day, you officially make a statement and say, well, this is how we're going to move forward. But we don't hear that, and I don't think we're going to hear it. Hello, caller? Come to a consensus, and before the end of Hello, caller?
Yes. It's me again. Now, you all spoke about two policies and that sort of stuff, okay? Unanimity and all that sort of stuff. Now, I think what was kind of missing is this. Remember Kamala? Kamala policy ain't really just about, this is Trinidad position, That isn't really what her position is limited to. So you could say, okay, Trinidad have their policy. This is Trinidad policy versus the other islands' policy. I didn't hear much from it, but I heard about one or two or so clips from the meeting. And the one with Kamala that I heard of, that I heard, she basically is saying this to me. This is how it come over to me. That, hey, I know you all had a good relationship with Cuba, you all other islands. I know you all had a good relationship with Cuba. But you all need to give up your all relationship with Cuba and forget about Cuba and take America's side in what is happening. She did not say, well, this is Trinidad position and this is where we're going to stand. She did not just say that. She went further than that and was telling the other Caribbean islands as they come over to me that, hey, you all need to take our position. Yes, you all had a good pass with Cuba.
And I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying she was only one. So what? Let's use a hypothetical. I have 10 fingers here. Let's say there were 10 leaders. We don't deny Kamala, as I said, she was adamant. I must give her credit, and this is why I keep saying, we don't have any men in the leadership role in the Caribbean who are functioning as men. And I'm going to repeat that again. We do not have any men in the Caribbean who are functioning the way men should as leaders. And when men don't function as leaders, women take our places. And so we have two women in the Caribbean, Kamala and Mia, and they are more adamant and more bold in their statement than any of the men. And that is why I am saying, here you had a conference. You have 10 fingers, I have 10. So we know where Kamala stands. But we thought that when this meeting was put together, we were supposed to hear Kamala's stance, this stance, that stance, and come away saying, okay, with everybody's stance, this is how we're going to move forward. But we don't know that. That is what I'm saying.
Well, maybe from now on, when there's CARICOM heads of government, there should be a day when the different prime ministers or heads should meet the press. So therefore, this hour, Gaston Brown is going to meet the press, and we'll be able to speak to Gaston Brown, the press. Bam, were able to deal with Gaston. And you don't want them to be coming and say, well, we're still discussing this and we're going to issue a communique at the end of the day. Not for that.
Yeah.
Not for that
You
reason.
want to know their firm stance.
You're right.
Just so like how we know Kamala's stance.
You need to have a day when the regional press can put questions to, Perhaps they need to maybe every morning before they begin, they bring down 5, 6 prime minister heads of government,
Yeah.
and they're the ones. Then the next day, every day you're getting different heads.
Yeah.
That will
So
come
Quint
down and
and
meet the
Chelsea.
press.
Yeah, but so Quint and Chelsea, like I said, I didn't hear much. I just hear one or two.
Well, I
answers,
didn't hear
okay?
much either, I didn't hear much, but from the
Yeah,
little...
But let me ask a question. From what you have been saying, Quint, and Chelsea as well, but mostly you, Quint, from what you have been saying, are you telling me, right, that these other leaders, Kamala made her point clear, but are you telling me these other leaders, they didn't make a clear,
No.
at least clear opposition
Not
to
one
what
of-
America is doing? They
No, not one of them. Not one of them. Not one of
Wow.
them. What they did, let's use, for instance, Jamaica as an example. He said, look, he was being very diplomatic. Look, we can't forsake our brothers, but then he moved from there and he goes into this long diatribe about democracy and you must have elections and blah, blah. So what is he saying? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
none
but
of them
none
came
of them
out.
came down clear
No.
to say, hey, US, what you all are doing
None-
is wrong.
no-
Stop it.
None of them. So here's what
So
you.
they-
So
they
here's.
talk about Kamala?
So here's what you just said. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Here's what you just said. You just said, and we all agree with you. Kamala was firm on her stance,
Kamala said there is the elephant in the room and she's going to address the elephant.
Yes, she was the only one who had. All of the others, every one of the others was sidestepping and hedging and
Including
tiptoeing.
Mia?
We didn't hear anything from Mia. That is what I'm saying.
Wow.
Until she reached home, and then when she reached home, she didn't address what was the consensus.
Wow. I got to probably make some time and see if I could listen from my own, because I find that a bit hard to believe. I mean, I find that hard. You mean even our Prime Minister said, well, he was trained in Cuba and that sort of stuff, and you mean that they went there with a mealy mouth?
Here's what I'm saying. Our Prime Minister, I give him a little credit because he was adamant. He stated boldly that Cuba, we should not give up on Cuba. He studied in Cuba. I heard what Mr. Hamilton said, but I like his stance that he did not say, well, I studied here and I studied there. But apart from that, he did not come out and say, look, so for instance, if I was him, this is me, I would have said, look,
Yes.
and I feel that as leaders here, we should walk away from this, having come to a conclusion that we cannot leave Cuba, our neighbor, to suffer without our assistance. That is what I would have said. But
And
none of
telling
them.
America that they're wrong.
But that when I say that is what I'm saying. When I say we as a Caribbean, because in that statement, I'm being diplomatic. I can't tell them what to do. I can't force them. You're following me?
Yes, but at least I could tell you you're wrong.
But wait, you see, sometimes we don't understand, I think Mr. Hamilton will quickly understand this. What I'm saying, remember, we haven't sat down and discussed yet. I'm the head of the conference, so I'm trying to, in my way, verbally start a conversation with a directive, and the directive is we're not going to leave Cuba. You understand? So I would have said I can't come out and say I could personally come out and say I personally don't feel that we should leave Cuba, but remember we're living in a democracy. Okay?
Right.
And I don't want to lead the other leaders. I want to suggest something and hope that they pick up on it. So I say, well, here's what I would like at the end of this meeting. At least I hope that we understand that we cannot leave Cuba, who have helped us immensely over time. Where we have been without Cuba, we have to help Cuba. I'm saying to the rest of the world that we're not going to leave Cuba alone, but none of them made that statement. None of them.
Well, I will tell you what I would have done. I would have let America know, hey, what y'all are doing to Cuba is wrong, and y'all need to stop it right now. I would have let them know that.
When I have my own,
if I had that chance as a leader.
When I have my own meeting, and it's 12 o'clock now. When I have my own, yes, I just said it's 12 o'clock now. Mr. Greg, what
Okay,
I'm saying.
thank you.
When I was addressing the rest, that is. But when I have my own platform as me, as the leader of St. Kitts Nevis, I would have then said, I don't feel that what the U.S. is doing to us is right. You follow me? But
Yeah, yeah.
but I can't say that when I'm addressing the entire thing, because we must all come to a consensus. Anyway, we've come to the end.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Right.
So
See you
any
guys.
closing words, Mr. Hamilton?
Well, I don't think I'll be here in. Well, maybe I could be here in 2 weeks' time. But if I'm not, then I'll see you all sometime later on.
Yeah.
I
Because
know
you
that
did
these
tell me you'll
logistics,
be. Yeah.
I have to. I might not be here to 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
On the Saturday. So take care. God bless, and we'll continue the dialogue and the conversations. And I'm hoping that we were able to bring something new and something different and something educational.
We were,
to
as
the table.
always. Yeah.
All right.
You take care. And enjoy. I'm going to be off for some weeks. And from our conversation, when I get back, you will most likely will be off. But when we do the Creator Sparing Our Lives, we'll get back here and pick up from where we left off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental health